Welcome to This Week in Anderson High School Athletics here on ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. Batman and Robin are back with us once again here. Boys, good to talk to you one more time for the penultimate episode of This Week in Anderson High School Athletics. Let's jump right into it because we've got a lot of things going on right now. Some regular season still going on, postseason draws. We're knowing pretty much the routes for most places, and let's jump right into it here. Let's talk about your baseball team first here. As it sets up right now, you've still got some things to take care of this week in terms of regular season, but scheduled games with Loveland and Walnut Hills, and if you take care of both those, it's a 10-win league season, so pretty good accomplishment there given how tightly packed this league has been, given, and we've talked about that as we've gone along here. We also know the postseason draw now for the team, and it's going to be against the 33 seed Wilmington, which is the lowest seed in the region. So you've got a really good chance to win the opener. And then we look at the bracket and see that the competition jumps up just a touch for a potential round 2 game when you get GMC champion Oak Hills, the 2 seed in the region. So, Newt, let me start with you. What do the coaches make of what seemingly became the draw of extremes here with the lowest seeded team and then the second highest seeded team potentially waiting in round 2?
Yeah, there's no doubt that's an interesting scenario there. With Oak Hills being the winning the GMC, having coached in the GMC for about 15 years, man, that is an absolutely incredible accomplishment, winning that league. So, top to bottom, you got to be solid. So, so there's no doubt about it. We got to get by Wilmington in the first round, and then we'll have our work cut out for us. But I got to tell you, now remember, we got off to a little bit of a slow start. We had some guys injured. We had our guy, Charlie Chuck Kreider, back Saturday night. He pitched senior night. And, our coach thought he was just going to throw a couple innings here and just get back acclimated and stuff like that. Well, heck, he threw 5 innings of no-hit baseball. So against West Claremont, who, is always a very solid hitting team and a good team. So, we feel like we're getting healthy. We're getting guys in right positions. The other day, Josh Overbeek gets intentionally walked twice, and Ross Carnes hits a grand slam and a 3-run homer right after. The guys are starting to play well, and we're healthy. So, we're excited about what the tournament brings. And
peaking at the right time, yeah.
Oh yeah, and what I always say is this: the state tournament is, we don't have to be, we don't have to beat Wilmington and Oak Hills in 7-game series. All we got to do is be better than them on one day, and that's it. And if we get the opportunity to play Oak Hills, I like our chances.
That's coming around. Pitching staff starting to turn into shape here. And as you said, getting guys back healthy, I think that's been the biggest thing for this team in their run as of late. Zach, let me switch to you. Let's talk about softball here. Snapped a 3-game skid on Monday, and pretty good time to do it, given it was the opening round of the sectional, and beating Princeton 8-1. They jump out to the lead 1-0 after 2. You get 2 in the third, and then ultimately kick the door in with 5 runs in the 6 runs in the 5th inning to ultimately make up the final score right there. Your reward is 3 seed Mason on Wednesday, but you've still got to take care of business against Loveland today to close out the conference season in the ECC. But I want to talk about this game against Princeton and kind of how things went right there, because this was really a complete team performance. You look at the way things out. You get, as you said, the 8 runs on 11 hits from your offense, and then Katie Carper goes the distance and allows 1 run on 3 hits there. I have to imagine this is a pretty good time to have one of your more complete team performances on the year.
Oh, absolutely. Yesterday was awesome. Princeton was a heck of a team. I'll tell you what, they made some incredible plays, but Katie Carper pitched incredible. And even when the ball was hit, our fielding was awesome last night, and we kind of had it clicking on all cylinders. And then Lily Conley, I tell you what, she went yard last night, and Newt was, I heard Newt screaming. I was down at lacrosse actually, and I heard him screaming from up top. And then right after that, Katie Wagman hits a triple, and I think she just broke the school record for triples in a season, and she broke last week the school record for doubles in a season. So she is just, she's hitting rockets, or missiles, I should say, as Newt tweets out. But No, man, it was super fun against Princeton last night, and then tonight we got Loveland, and it's senior night, so we're gonna celebrate the girls that we have, put everything into this program, and then we'll look forward to moving on, and then we have the tournament again, and we have Mason, so it doesn't get much easier, but girls are starting to hit a little stride right here, and any time that you have a full team win like that kind of gives you some confidence going into whoever you're playing. So we're looking forward to it, and I'm just happy for the girls.
Coming off of this, the win over here against Princeton and the way Katie Carper pitched in this one, as you said, complete game, 1 run on 3 hits. Is it your anticipation she gets the ball again against Mason on Wednesday?
I don't know. That's what's tough about being a coach. You got Grace Trapp, who's pitched great for us all year, and then you got Katie Carper, who's pitched good too, and then pitches a great game against Princeton. So they're both a little different type of pitchers. So I'm not sure. It's gonna be interesting to see who rolls out there on the bump that day.
In either case, we'll be looking forward to a more excellent commentary from Newt on Twitter with all the highlights and the videos and everything right there, because that's the way a lot of times you wind up following things nowadays. And certainly how I was able to accrue some of my information for the show here today was following and listening in to your resident Marty Brenneman here. Speaking of which, let me bring him back in here, and let's talk about girls lacrosse here. And postseason's on the edge here. We'll talk about that in just a second, but they've really started to turn the corner. The girls lacrosse team has. They've won 3 in a row. They're going to get Wyoming tonight to wind down the regular season right here. Of course, they also know the postseason draw. It'll be Lakota East in the opener a week from today. That'll be on the 18th there, and you could end up seeing Loveland in round 2. We all know what Loveland wound up doing in the league this year. Wound up winning it, and they took it to you pretty good when you met just recently there. Newt, what do you make of the way the girls have played this last week and a week and a half since that Loveland matchup, and your thoughts on a potential rematch with them if you get them in round 2 of the tournament?
Like we always talk about, we want to make sure that we're better at the end of the year than at the beginning of the year. And Coach Hardiman and Coach Bossy and Coach Christ, they've done a tremendous job of continuously working with the girls. And when we were a little down, keeping them positive, keeping them focused. And like I said, won 3 straight. So, I mean, the girls feel good about themselves, where they are right now. We got some girls that are playing their best lacrosse. Reese Kincaid is a scoring machine. We last week come behind victory, losing the whole game to Walnut Hills. We come back and scored 2 goals late in the game. Robin Johnson's been playing really well. Kennedy Coldiron, Olivia Leonard. I mean, everybody has really stepped their game up here at the end of the year. Lakota East, I got to be honest with you, I haven't done my research, my scouting report, and I haven't handed it to Coach Hardiman yet. But I would think that, that's going to be a good, solid game. First round tournament, we're going to have to play really well to beat Lakota East and advance. But if we get the opportunity to play Loveland again, you never know. Loveland took it to us when we played earlier. But, again, like I said, with baseball, we don't have to be better than Loveland 10 out of 10 times, just 1 out of 10. And, you can get a couple girls hot, and Alyssa Grody in the goal. She can make a bunch of saves and see what happens. So we're excited. We got to beat Lakota East first, but we'd be excited to play the Tigers.
Yeah, Lakota East has kind of been around a 500 team all year long. So, and you talked about, your experience in the GMC on the baseball side of things. And it just seems like it doesn't matter what sport you pick. It's always a quality league there in the GMC, but nevertheless, like I said, Lakota East around a 500 club, the way things have gone this season. So a good chance there to pick up an opening round win and potentially get Loveland in round 2. Zach, over on the boys side, it's kind of a similar story. The boys have found their groove as of late. They've won 4 straight. And what's most impressive is they're doing it with their defense, only allowing 5 goals during this 4-game stretch here. You get Indian Hill to close the regular season on Wednesday, and you look at the way things shake out. You win against Indian Hill, and you finish the year 500. And I don't know that that's something we thought we would be talking about a month ago when the team started 2-7. This is a heck of a turnaround.
Absolutely. I mean, and not just with us, but I mean, everybody right now. I think it's kind of shown what the mentality of everybody, and that's just resiliency. I mean, throughout the whole pandemic, throughout everything, everybody's had to be a little resilient, and I think our kids have done a great job of that. And I mean, there's many times this year when the record was down, we were on a little losing streak, and we could have just gave in and put our heads down and said, you know what, it was a fun year. We missed last year and could have made all the excuses in the world. But when you're led by a great person and Pat Thatcher and the coaches that we got, and then senior led team, it comes down to the kids, and I think the seniors kicked it in gear. Noah Haybig, um, leading the defense in the back, and then Austin Kroner in the goal. I mean, that kid is unbelievable. If you ever get a chance to watch him, I highly recommend it, because that kid is, I mean, he's unbelievable. So the defense has been awesome, but I'm just so excited for those kids. I mean, 4 straight, you're hitting the stride at the right time. So we're looking forward to the tournament game. We played LaSalle last night, and that's who we drew in the tournament. So we knew what we can do against them, and we got to see them a little bit and know what they're going to do. So it's good to kind of match up and get a little scouting report before you actually play. So we're looking forward to it, and can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
Yeah, Austin Kroner leads the ECC in saves on the year, and he's going to end up winning that title as things shake out here as we wind down regular season. Newt, when you look at the way the girls have started to put together this nice winning streak, and also the boys have done it as well as we approach the postseason, do they kind of look across the aisle and say, hey, look, they're putting a win streak together. There's no reason we can't as well. Do you sense that camaraderie between each lacrosse programs?
Oh, there's no doubt. No doubt at all, because, Coach Pat Thatcher, he's at all the girls' games right there, cheering them on. And so, the other day, when they won their third game in a row, we swept the week, we went 6-0 in the week. He's the first person leading the cheers. And so, the guys and the girls and the banter back and forth about, they want to keep it alive. Nobody wants to be the team that breaks the winning streak. So they definitely feed off one another. And the awesome thing about it is our coaches, continuously cheer each other on. And that's what you love to see in an athletic program, when your coaches are the number one fans of other sports, because that doesn't always happen. Sometimes some people can be selfish about things. So when you see that, you really got a good culture and good things are going on.
Zach, how is that though on the players' perspective when they see the other side's coach showing up to all their matches, and he's cheerleader number 3 right behind you and Newt right there? Does that give that team an extra kick to say, hey, look, he could be out scouting opponents, watching tape, all that kind of stuff, and he chose to come here and watch us?
Absolutely, but that just goes to show, I mean, from the leadership from the top down, from Mr. Fellows and Newt and our coaches, everybody else. I mean, that's just kind of the family atmosphere. I mean, Mr. Fellows and our admins come to so much and cheer us on. They're the biggest fans. And Newt, I mean, he's the biggest fan of these kids besides their biological parents, and he still might be a bigger fan than some of them. But that's just kind of the atmosphere that we have here, and that's why it's so awesome. And one of my favorite things is the kids. It's not just the coaches who go to the other teams' games. It's the kids. When the boys are playing, the girls are sitting right in front and they're screaming their heads off. And when the girls are playing, the boys are sitting there. So it's just extremely fun thing to be a part of and witness it all from a bird's eye view. So we're excited and just lucky to have some of those kids.
Let's switch gears and let's change things up. Let's go to the tennis courts right now. And we finally, as we talked last week, we know the draws for your tennis team, both singles and the doubles. They've got the sectional coming up this week. You've got some seeds there with a chance to make some deep runs here. Newt, let me start with you with the tennis team right here. As we've gone through training this past week and maybe had a better chance to evaluate the draw and the opponents, at least early on right here, do the coaches feel like there's maybe a better shot on the single side or the double side to have someone, or maybe more than one, make a deep run?
Well, I think our coaches are looking at both. I mean, the ECC is a very, very solid conference, and for us to have the singles champion and the doubles champion, I think speaks volumes, and it says that these kids have an opportunity to get out. And tennis is weird because you never know. Sometimes teams drop their singles player and their doubles players, and they make a doubles team out of it. So you just really never know sometimes until you show up and you play, because you don't know if those guys haven't played together all year. You're not sure how they're going to play together. Our doubles team, our one doubles team, has played together the entire year, Tristan and Nick. So they're excited to get into it, and Payson, and like I told you, man, them Zal brothers, people got to watch out for them. Stanley and Ben have done a great job, and either one of those two can get hot. So, I mean, me personally, I'm expecting multiple people to advance, and that's I don't know who it's going to be, but I really believe we're going to get multiple people that step up and play well and advance, and we'll keep screaming for them and cheering them as they go on.
We'll recap the season in its entirety next week on the season finale. But Zach, I'm wondering from your perspective, to Newt's point right there, if you don't have multiples go on in either singles, doubles, or both, given the fact that you've had such a strong season, ECC regular season champion, would it be considered a disappointment?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's disappointment. I mean, it'll be disappointing for the kids. But for us, we're just extremely proud of these kids and the way that they fought all year. And we just talk about them being better tennis players and better people every day. And I think 1000% we have achieved that. So, I mean, obviously it'd be a little disappointing to not advance, but I mean, sometimes that's part of it. And sometimes you have bad days, and I hope those kids know that we're going to be rocking with them, whether they do advance or whether they don't. I mean, we're still going to always have their backs. Obviously we always want to advance, and we really, really want to, but we'll see. I got a good feeling about it. So I don't want to put those thoughts in my head.
Well, it's just the nature of the beast. So, and as we've talked about with some of the other sports, you only have to be better than somebody one time in this with the single elimination format there. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll also see how things play out coming up this week for track and field teams, as you're going to host the ECC championships coming up a little bit later on this week. Newt, let me start with you. Kind of give us a preview of the 2 days, how you expect things to go logistically, operation wise. And I know before we start recording, you also talked about a fun little story between a couple of your track and field athletes, kind of a playfully butting heads, so to speak.
Yeah. So, number one, I appreciate Andy Wolf for ordering the nice weather that he's going to bring us here, hopefully on Wednesdays and Friday. Because
he has that influence.
He does. I mean, 48 years in the business, you got to have some kind of pull. But we're excited about being able to host and showcase, not only our track, but Anderson High School. We've got a lot of changes that have gone around here, and so we're excited to host and showcase our school. But yeah, no, it's going to be a great. It's kind of neat. I was talking to an AD this morning, actually, and in the ECC All Sports Trophy, it could come down to, it'll come down to that meet. And it could come down to the last event. You never know. So it's going to be pretty cool. In that the 10 teams will be here getting after it, and a whole entire year of athletics will come down to possibly one meet and one event to decide the All Sports Trophy in our league. So we're excited. But yeah, the Paige Elliff and Aiden North, it's hilarious. Those two are shot put and discus girls, and it's awesome. They are two of the best kids in the world. Paige is a 3-sport athlete, and both her and Aiden are incredibly intelligent young ladies. But they keep going back and forth. Paige is the discus and shot put record holder here at Anderson High School. She's had those, and Aiden the other day decided to break her record in the shot put. So, and the cool thing about it is Paige is the first one there to celebrate. Um, she'll take some shots at her in the hallway when they walk down the hallway and stuff like that. But they're the first ones to celebrate each other's accomplishments. And as Zach was telling you, Aiden broke it in the qualifying round, but Paige won the match. And what a cool match it was. It was called the Game of Throws. And Joe Walla, our throw coach, put it together. We had 7 schools. It was awesome. So we're excited to see what they're going to bring. And, we got a lot of, we got Wednesday field events and then running, and then Friday, just the running events. And then we'll move on to the sectionals and districts and hopefully the state tournament. But we got a lot of cheering left to do for those. I tell you one thing, Jace, that I'm super excited about is the fact that I can't remember if it was last week, a couple weeks ago or whatever. I talked about 2 seniors that stayed after and the culture of our track program. They didn't run in our track invitational, but they stayed after and they made sure everything was cleaned up because they were still recovering or rehabbing. They will run Wednesday and Friday night. Trudy Schellenberger and Alex Kolowak are going to run. They're healthy now and they're going to run in the ECCs. And I'm just so excited for those 2 that they're going to get the opportunity to showcase their talents and be able to run at home for us in the ECCs.
Zach, as you look at the way things set up now and what Newt is and some of the references Newt is making there, we already have a problem, so to speak, with your discus and shot put thrower just continuing to trade school records. So those continue to fall. You're getting runners back healthy at an opportune time in a meet where you're going to have some, as we said, as we've talked about not only today, but along the season, some very quality track and field teams coming in. Loveland's always good. Lebanon has come in this year and really made an impact there. How do you feel like the on track and on field events set up for your teams to perform here, and ultimately your expectations of where they could potentially finish here at the ECCs?
I think it's great. I mean, our kids have really been, they've been working so hard, and the two kids that Newt referenced, literally practice will be over and it'll be an hour and a half later and you'll see these kids either in the weight room on the bike or doing extra running, just little things they do. And that rubs off on kids. Kids see it and they'll be like, well, I don't want to be the only one who's leaving early. So you start to see a little bit of that culture change throughout this. And as those kids are coming back, you can see more kids gravitating towards putting that work ethic into the meets and into practice. And that's so cool to see. So I've seen what our kids have been doing in practice and also in our meets. And I could not be more excited for them to showcase their talents right here at Anderson High School and show off this beautiful school and everything on Wednesday and Friday. And hopefully we'll take home some hardware for sure.
Absolutely. And Newt, any sense of maybe added pressure on these kids because they're hosting, or does it relax them knowing that they don't have to make a long trek anywhere? They just return to the high school to do their thing.
I don't think it's any pressure. It's a lot of extra work. There's no doubt about it. We've talked about it, at the Anderson Track Invitational, how the way Andy sets everything up. Our kids they're bouncing around all over the place. They're setting records in track and hurdle exchanges and stuff like that, moving them up and down and getting them on and off the track. So it's a lot more work. So I would say that there's no extra pressure because they really don't have a lot of time to think about it because they're constantly doing things to make sure that the meet runs very well. Somebody like a Catherine Dorsey, who a senior, been up in the state championships. That's pressure. So, for her right now to be able to come out and run in her last regular season meet at home, that's fun. That's time to enjoy it and celebrate in your accomplishments that you've had over the past 4 years.
We'll be looking forward to seeing all the highlights on social media during over the coverage of the event, not only pictures, photos, as we always like, the running commentary from Newt as well. We look forward to covering that all next week. Next week will be the season finale of This Week in Anderson High School Athletics. We're going to recap all the seasons from all the spring sports athletes, and also one extra bit of news that we've just learned about here on the show in the last couple of weeks. And we'll talk about that in depth as well to kind of wrap up the season next week. But once again, this week, my thanks to Chris Newton and Zach McCormick joining us once again for This Week in Anderson High School Athletics here on ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.